the reclamation, and in order to mark the occasion, they've organized a series of regattas with visitors from Spain, as well as, of course, the eternal rivals, now next-door neighbors, Calpe Rowing Club, and we bring you some of that action, as well as an interview with the club captain, Stuart Bensalon. Well, the course that was actually laid out was opposite the two new rowing clubs, Calpe and Med, 250 meters with boys at either end, 4 lengths of the course to complete the race. There were heats on Saturday and the finals on Sunday morning, and if the reaction of the members of both clubs is anything to go by, then this is the future for local rowing. There were heats on the Saturday, and these are the finals from Sunday morning. Unfortunately, we can't bring you the action from all the finals, just 3 out of the 5, since our cameraman had to go down to take some of the hockey. But this is the first of the Sunday morning finals for the cadets, 14 and under, 3 crews participating. Apart from Calpe and Med, there was also a crew from La Linea. The station which was closest to camera, to the right of your picture as you're looking at it, closest to the clubs and the shore, that was La Linea. Calpe were in the middle and Med were closest to the detached model. This is the first of the turns, followed by all the spectators who are screaming their support from the clubhouses, and Med turning ahead of Calpe, La Linea rather, in 3rd position at this stage after 250 meters, but still another 750 to row. But Med pulling very strongly at this stage and opening something of a gap. These youngsters, very young, but a good technique, pulling steadily and in unison and beginning to get some clear water between themselves and their Calpe rivals. Something of an art, of course, going round the boys, something which many of the visitors were having problems with, not only the La Linea crew, but also those particularly from Malaga. But Med and Calpe are quite used to this sort of thing. And there we see the Med boat just getting into the second of the turns, taking it pretty tight. Calpe boat yet to show. There they are coming into picture. So a clear lead at the halfway stage and pretty close to 4 La Linea. Well, La Linea pulling off a very good turn on this occasion and coming out practically level with the Calpe Rowing Club, despite having gone into the turn a little bit behind. A good performance from this crew, from La Linea, who, though technically they did not seem to be very polished, their timing sometimes letting them down, they were certainly very fit and very determined. Calpe, though, basically racing them for 2nd position. It didn't seem that anybody was going to challenge Med for the lead. Coming up to the 3rd and final of the turns. After this, it was just 250 meters to the finish line. Med already into the turn, and look at the distance yet that Calpe and La Linea have to travel. They're still going in the opposite direction. Med already clear of their turn and starting the haul back. But pretty close, as you can see, between Calpe and La Linea. In the end, the Med crew, which comprised J. Viñales, K. Mañasco, G. Dearo and C. Rodriguez, with Mark Hemi as Cox, they came through to win quite comfortably in a time of 4 minutes 40.83 seconds. There we see them just completing the final stages of the course. The first Med crew to win a regatta since their move to the new premises, at least a final. And winning it quite comfortably, some 17 seconds the margin between themselves and the 2nd place crew. Med, if anything, slowing down as they approached the finish. There you see some of the young oarsmen, their arms aloft in triumph. They knew they weren't threatened, and they won it quite comfortably in the end. But a great race for second place. Calpe leading the La Linea crew, but La Linea pushing very, very strongly in the final stages and coming through past Calpe to finish second. 4:57.34 their time to Calpe's 5 minutes 00.15 a second. And great celebrations in the La Linea boat for that second position. But after the juniors then, a shorter lull in the proceedings while the crews changed boats, and then it was the turn of the junior final. A very quick start from the Calpe crew closest to camera. They were pushing off. These are 18 and under, these horsemen. They pushed off very quickly. 3 crews in contention, Calpe, Malaga and Med. The Malaga crew separating the Calpe and Med crews. Calpe closest to the clubhouses, Malaga in the middle, and Med again closest to the mole. As always in this sort of regatta, where the angle makes it very difficult to judge who's in the lead, all eyes on those first buoys, which would give an indication of the crew that was in the lead at that stage, whoever was to turn first. And pretty close, as you can see, between Med and Calpe at this stage, with Malaga just coming into the turn a little bit later. And this, in fact, is where Malaga got into problems. You'll see in a second that they stopped rowing. In fact, their stroke having problems with his oar. He changed the angle rather too much and found himself with the oar outside the oarlock and the boat practically stranded. The regatta continued, a straight race between Calpe and Med now. Med putting a little bit of clear water between themselves and Calpe on the way to the turn. Just reaching their buoy a little bit ahead. I would make it some 3/4 of a length to possibly a length ahead at this stage. But a good turn from the Calpe crew to come out practically at the same time as Med, making up that deficit in the turn. A beautiful turn, as we see in the background Malaga, who managed to get the oar back into the oarlock, continuing. But in the end they didn't finish. They were unable to make the second turn. A technique clearly they haven't mastered. And Calpe and Med allowed to continue to dispute matters between themselves. Now going for the final turn before sprinting back those 250 meters to the finish. There we see the defending oar outside its oarlock. Very disappointed, frustrated crew there. The final turn, and Med straightening their boat faster than Calpe on this occasion, and enjoying a little bit of a lead, pushing very fast for the finish, backed of course by all the cheers from the merry many onlookers amassed at the club. Both clubs made a point, in fact, of going into both clubs, and the crews from both clubs very well supported. And this is very healthy for the sport. But Med eventually winning by almost 2 seconds, in a time of 4 minutes 27.43 seconds to Calpe's 4 minutes 29.58. Jay Viñales, P. Buttigieg, another Jay Viñales, and Ruben Rodriguez at one with Ian McIntosh as Cox. They were the winning crew. And the margin, as you can see, not very great, but still enough to give Med their second victory in a row. Well, after this, we had 2 regattas that we were unable to film, unfortunately, because we were filming the hockey, and both of these were won by Calpe. They won the ladies' event. That was El Baglietto, A. Vela, T. Grech, and S. Davidson with Erika Budraan as Cox. And they then went on to win the veterans race with Edmund Bensadong, Leslie Grech, Brian Francis, and Charlie Russo with Paco Aquilina as Cox there. 2 great performances, both from the ladies and the veterans. which gave the Galpe side of the fence quite a lot to cheer about, and certainly made it a festive occasion for both clubs. But these are shots of the main event, the senior final, and 2 crews from Galpe, 1 crew from Med in this particular final. They were the 3 crews who got through to this stage. But turning first, it's the Med crew in the middle of the picture. This first crew from Med, very strong indeed. Waters a little bit choppier, the wind picking up the sea as the morning progressed. This was now after midday yesterday. And a good regatta between Med and the Galpe first crew, which are in fact not quite in picture because they were closer to shore. But at the halfway stage of proceedings, Med clearly in the lead. They're well into the turn. The Galpe boat yet to appear. There they come. They're clearly some 2.5 lengths behind Med at this halfway stage. And despite pulling off quite a good turn, which saw them pull ahead of the Galpe second crew, they had their work cut out for them really to try and catch the very powerful Med first crew. Med now on their way to the final turn. There we see them executing it. Their wind was quite comfortable in the end. 4 minutes 28.3 seconds. Just 1 second off the best time of the morning despite the worsening conditions. The Galpe first crew coming in second in 4 minutes 40.6, and the Galpe second crew 4 minutes 47.61. But certainly if there was a winner on Sunday morning, or in fact in the whole of the weekend, it must have been local rowing. How often do we see those sort of crowds in any local sporting event? And the support was there, it was vociferous, there was a carnival atmosphere in both the clubs, and this will certainly augur well for the future of the sport. I'm sure that many young oarsmen will want to come through the ranks and put in the hours of sacrifice and training and preparation that are required in order to make the grade in this very grueling and demanding sport. But I'm sure that there will be more people willing to do that with the sort of atmosphere that was created at the weekend. So certainly Gara now looking forward, I'm sure, to a prosperous future. And now both clubs have been recited and the problems of a few years ago are well in the past. We can look forward to some excellent rowing and to competitive sport between the 2 rowing clubs, Galpe.